out some things about Kyle that make me believe that his motives are not what he says that they are.
We need to talk about Kyle Gordy, who is on this season of 90 Day Fiance Love in Paradise. I'm completely shocked that TLC has decided to bring a man like this on their platform, especially after all the women who have spoke out against him, the pending lawsuits against him, and more, and the women who accuse him of taking advantage of them. This may be a long video because we are going to conduct a deep dive and look at a lot of information that I'm really shocked that TLC did not come across. I do want to give a big shout out to Alley Cat on Reddit. She posted a lot of this stuff and she forwarded it to me as well. And she said she found out all this information within a 15-minute Google search of Kyle. And I found some more information on top of that. So it's hard to believe that TLC did not find this information about Kyle before choosing to cast him on this season of Love in Paradise. Let's get into him on the show real quick. So he is dating this girl. I think it is Ani or Anna. I'm sorry if I say her name wrong. But Kyle sees himself as a sperm donor and a self-proclaimed fertility specialist, even though he has no education or training to give himself that title, but he claims he has the experience. At the time of filming 90 Day Fiance, Kyle has had 71 kids with the help of his swimmers, and he has 9 more on the way, and that is a huge problem. We're going to get more into that later on the video. And Kyle said he travels all around the world, putting his super swimmers into different women to help them get pregnant, but he takes a more unique approach to some donors because a lot of donors just do it in the cup and then the girls have to put it in themselves with a syringe. But Kyle offers to put himself inside the woman because he claims it increases the chances of them getting pregnant. So he preys on these women's vulnerabilities, women who are struggling, who don't have the money to go to a sperm clinic, and he uses that and hooks up with them. And he's dating this girl named Ani in the show, and he wants to continue donating, his swimmers by putting himself in other girls, and his girl Ani is not feeling it. She said if they're going to be together, then he has to quit, hooking up with other women this way. Otherwise, it's not going to work. I'm not buying this relationship at all. She just seems too good for him. I don't understand what she's doing, wasting her time with him. And when they did meet in person, it seemed extremely awkward. And Kyle has been trying to get on TV forever. He even said he wants eventually to get his own reality TV show where he has women fighting over who gets to win and have his swimmers put inside them. Kyle claims that when he donates by putting himself in other women, he claims he doesn't do it for no sexual gratification, and it's just so he can feel good. Yet when his girl said that he needs to cut it out and stop that, he made a big deal and he said, I'm not willing to make this sacrifice. She should be willing to put up with this. She wants to be with me because this is what makes me happy. And it's like, okay, but if you're saying you don't do this for sexual purposes, then why couldn't you just give it up and do it by donating in a cup? Why do you have to be inside these women and hook up with these women if it's not about having sex with them? Trigger warning. In light of all the information coming out, I think it's important to make a post on Kyle. Recently, I come across information on him and how he is a PRED, and I'd like everyone to become aware of this, as this isn't about a wannabe influencer, but a man who poses a threat to society. These are my notes on Kyle. Kyle Gordy, aka Kyle Crane, is now on Love in Paradise. But before Love in Paradise gave this PRED a platform, Kyle was already well known in the donor community, but not for being the helpful man he claims to be. For years now, Kyle has been known as a predatory RACIST who coercively abuses women. He's desperate for children. Women will usually go to donor clinics, and donor clinics cost a lot of money, but they also do things such as genetic testing for mutations. And Kyle doesn't do this, as he just meets women and tells them he's fine. And women who have reached out for genetic testing from him after conceiving with him, he has completely avoided them. Before we get more into what she had to say, let's just see how Kyle allegedly talks about some of the women he has helped get pregnant. So somebody leaked these text messages, or I guess social media messages, claiming they're from Kyle. Kyle has spoke out and claimed that these first two messages are not him. But I still want to share them because we don't know if these are him or not. A lot of people have shared and claimed that this is him, and someone else sharing their experience with Kyle. So let's see what they have to say. So allegedly, he messaged this about this girl that he was helping getting pregnant. He said, "She's high. I smell her breath every time I bang a black girl. My package stinks. Pussy. Probably not from effing and ages. Bisexual. That's my third new in a month. And the first two were fatties, though." He said, "I'm rough during sex," allegedly. And this person responded like she's bleeding rough. And he says, "I've made them bleed because." And then these are just the same messages we looked at. And this is underneath a video about Kyle where someone said, "I am currently pregnant after he donated sperm to me through natural insemination. Ignorantly, I did it without an STD being provided by him," or an STD test, I think. "Throughout the process, he kept calling me good girl, which felt degrading and like he wasn't doing it with the right intentions. Almost immediately after meeting him in the hotel room, he was demanding BJ's, which wasn't what I was there for. After the sex, he would talk about and degrade women/single moms who have to receive benefits to raise their children, since apparently it's often them who seek his help. He promotes himself as charitably giving to others in the community, but when I found out I was pregnant and asked if I could be in contact with other mothers to the children who would be my child's half-siblings, he told me not until your child is 3 years old. Yet he is adamant that as soon as he has these kids, all the moms are in this group chat, which is a complete lie, according to this person. Icing on the cake, he was hoping I would put him on the birth certificate in the future, calling my future child a green card baby, which would enable him to freely travel around the UK donating sperm. Avoid." And it just seemed extremely inappropriate to be saying things like that.
Kyle was God sent. He didn't ask us for any donation.
No.
He didn't even make the gesture like, "Oh, you guys could take me here or do this for me." It was just like he was happy to do this. Like, this is how he gets off. Like, he's, "Oh, hey guys, come on in.
Here's my computer. I used to watch the porn."
Okay, that's how he gets off, literally. And the thing is, he says he doesn't charge, but at the same time, he also had a crowdfunding campaign that Dr. Phil called him out on his show about. And yes, he was on Dr. Phil too. This man's been on a lot of TV shows because he kept bragging, "Oh, I do this for free. I don't ask for money." But honestly, I think it's even weirder he doesn't ask for money for all this, because you put so much time and effort into it as literally like a second job. He has to completely change his lifestyle, his eating habits, so only use natural ingredient products. All this for free? I think he's doing this for his own pleasure, to stroke his own ego. And because he was on the Dr. Phil show, and Dr. Phil said, "Well, you say you do it for free, but you have a crowdfunding campaign." So he makes the women pay for traveling, but the women who can't pay for traveling, he has this crowdfunding campaign. And allegedly, this money that is raised through it is supposed to help the women who can't pay to provide the travel expenses. And that way it will cover them so they can still do this process to have a baby. But apparently this crowdfunding campaign was supposed to raise $30,000. He admitted to Dr. Phil he raised over $50,000. Let me show you the girl that he actually hooks up with to help get her pregnant. And this is, I don't think I said the full name of the episode. This is 36 Kids and Counting, the DIY sperm donor, my life online on Vice.
Typically, the testing we do on sperm donors is called a carrier screen.
That's basically checking to see if you, as a sperm donor, you carry one of 200 to 300 genetic diseases that we can test for that could be transmitted to the baby. If you're going online to find a donor yourself, you're playing with fire and you're taking a significant risk. Guaranteed you're not doing the testing that's available that you need to do. And if you
He claims he's done 23andMe testing, but when women have asked for his testing after conceiving with him, he has received to give them his testing. He did go on the Dr. Phil show where they did, I don't think they did a full DNA test, but they did some kind of like test with a general STD test, and they said he was clear. But one of the women have came forward and claims that he's got this mutation.
I'm 23 years old. I'm a single mother of 2 children. I met Kyle online while I was looking in a sperm donation group. We got to know each other. We were talking about
She's young. I don't know why she's trying to hook up with him and have another baby at 23, but hey, maybe she wants her kids to be close in age.
backgrounds, and he was asking, was I married, single, or my sexual orientation. We talked about
Why does that matter if she's married, single, or sexual orientation? I think that's because he's also trying to prey on these women.
all the different methods of insemination and what I was most comfortable with. And he suggested natural insemination, and I kind of agreed because it has the most higher success rate.
And that has been proven to be false.
You know, usually it's artificial insemination because I donate to mostly lesbian couples, but there's also natural insemination. It's essentially just regular sex. Obviously, it's more clinical, not meant for fun and enjoyment. It's more of a process in the sense.
Yeah, he's allegedly asking women for BJs.
I'll stay inside of her for 15 minutes because if you pull it too fast, it'll pull the sperm out. I really leave it up to the woman, how she feels comfortable, how she want to do it.
It was Kyle's idea to do natural.
There it is. He says it's left up to the woman, but it was Kyle's idea.
Considering that he's coming out all these ways anyway.
Once in a blue moon, I do natural insemination. Usually it's because the women feel like...
Another thing is the fact he does it for free for these women. These women almost feel like they kind of owe it to him in some circumstances, that they need to do it this way. Like she kind of said, he's already coming out all this way.
It'll be more effective because there's less exposure to air and less variables. They feel like it's just going to be more effective and stuff.
using a cervical cup or having sexual intercourse, if you timed it well, it's going to give you the same odds. Some would say cervical cup will give you better odds because you're putting it closer to cervix, but that's never been proven. But I would say at least the same odds.
Okay, now let's see how awkward this hookup is once they finally do hook up.
Nervous to me. Kyle is pretty much giving me the rundown. That's it. And I'm following Kyle.
Hey.
Hi.
So, I didn't get my shoes on. Whatever. So,
Short. Man, if I had somebody donating to me and they're that short, I would be upset. And I guess this has been proven that most women who look for sperm donors look for men who at least are 6 feet plus. And he even says on his website he claims he is athletic. And I mean, he's skinny. I mean, but he doesn't look jacked or anything.
yeah, you can take a seat. Take a seat anywhere. Your abode, get comfortable. It's your hotel pretty much. So it's pretty nice right here. Yeah, I got the alley room.
Kyle, you are short.
What?
You are short.
What? No, I'm not.
Yes, you
I'm
are.
tall. I'm tall. I guess we'll do it. I guess.
He's so awkward.
Yeah, I guess we'll do it. And yeah.
You are a little awkward, so you're making me awkward.
No, I'm not awkward.
You are.
No.
You are awkward.
No, I'm not being awkward.
No, I'm not awkward as I awkwardly rub on top of my head.
I'm being chill, I'm like, oh, hey.
No.
I'm good. It's like a mission. It's like James Bond a little bit, I'm like James Bond you know, like a mission. It's like James Bond a little bit, you know. I'm like James Bond.
Oh my god, this
You
man is
know,
delusional.
Like Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Forrest
Or
Gump, maybe
Forrest Gump,
James
not
Bond or
James
Forrest
Bond.
Gump. You know, let's let's do it. It's yeah, let's go.
If you birth at the time, I guess he has like almost 80 kids, well 71 kids and 8 kids on the way as he filmed 90 Day Fiance. At the time of filming this, he has 36 kids and counting. But you think after, you know, hooking up and having that many kids, you would be a lot less awkward in person. I mean, I have really bad social awkwardness too, so I understand, but it's like he doesn't even know how to do any kind of small talk, and you think it would be routine for him by now.
That long because I know it was the first day. It was only like a few minutes, like 5 minutes. After we were done, I kind of just moved her, you know, we kind of just moved quickly. You know, I put the pillows there.
I was nervous, not gonna lie, but it was a good experience. He exceeded my expectations 100%.
We kept it professional. I made sure the first day to make sure it was very professional. I
Very
wanted to make
professional.
Okay, the first day, but what about the next day?
it was, yeah. So we'll say 12 more minutes. We don't want to keep you here all day. Yeah, 12 more minutes should be good.
Boom. It was nice to meet you, Kyle.
See you, yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Well, I mean, I'll see you tomorrow. So we'll be, you know, I'll see you tomorrow on the next day. So later, alligator.
Oh my god. Is this man, if you didn't think this man was awkward, that's your confirmation right there. Later, alligator. Okay, so right there is extremely awkward, but now let's go and see how this girl comes out and speaks about her experience afterwards with Kyle.
And
Chantel was pregnant, but she eventually miscarried.
After having the miscarriage, I found out some things about Kyle that make me believe that his motives are not what he says that they are. It's because a conversation that me and him had afterwards, he was just telling me he needs to get these trips because he loves to travel and he loves his job because it gets him ladies. More than likely, he's not trying this with same-sex couples. He is trying this with women who are trying to become single moms by choice.
Yes, he preys on their vulnerability. That's exactly right. I bet he's not offering to hook up. That's why he specifically asked her, are you married? Are you single? And what's your sexual orientation? Right off the jump, because that shouldn't matter at the end of the day. If you're trying to help out anybody, that should not matter at the end of the day what their orientation is or their relationship status. And just like she said, he tries to act like it's for everybody else he's helping. But those things she described there, I'm doing it for traveling and because I get to hook up with women all the time, those are all selfish motives.
I did put my trust in Kyle because he knows exactly what to say and how to say it over the phone. But it's the meeting him in person and actually sitting down and spending time with him that you realize like something with this guy is very, very off.
Kyle maintains that it's not just about sex and he really does natural insemination. Only about 5% of the time is it natural. He does enjoy traveling to new places, but he says it's essential to the insemination process, natural or artificial. That's actually a good response. But at the same time, why are you bragging about that to women? Okay, let's listen to this TikToker. I really appreciated what she had to say.
Welcome back to part 2 as we dive into the terrifying world that is serial donors in a way that the new documentary Swimmer World kind of failed us. What is up? My name is Laura and I am your donor conceived person of TikTok. And in this next part, we are going to be discussing Kyle Gordy. Kyle Gordy is a very infamous and controversial serial donor. Supposedly, he has made over 80 kids globally. He also has had multiple police reports filed against him. He is from the United States, and he is about to be on the newest season of 90 Day Fiance, as seen here. But please about who Kyle is. If you look below, it is apparently Kyle's greatest ambition to have his own reality show where women vie for his swimmers. Okay, is controversial, and so controversial he was denied entry into New Zealand. Now, I'm going to show you things that he posted and he texted.
Okay, yes, he was on Fox News in another interview I watched. I spent hours watching this stuff, so if you guys can at least give this video a thumbs up, because this took a lot of deep diving to do. But apparently he was on Fox News. He went over to Switzerland, or is another country. They denied him entry because he was just going there to donate sperm, and they didn't want him donating his swimmers all over that country and populating the country.
Feather flock together. Let's look at some of his friends. This is a picture of Kyle Gordy and Joe Donor together. They are on a swimmer tour throughout Africa. Swimmer tours are where donors go and inseminate people around the world. So remember this. Now, if you have seen me for any stretch of time, you've heard me refer to the documentary Our Father. This is about the infamous Dr. Klein who switched out the chosen donor and dad DNA in donor conception in over 100 patients. Now, I want you to take a look at this cover photo and remember these little paper dolls, because after this documentary was posted, Joe Donor did this. Laura, Kyle didn't do this. Joe did. You can't judge Kyle based off of what Joe.
I know, but who you hang around with and surround yourself with tells a lot about yourself as a person.
Oh, did? Fair enough. So let me show you a video of how he treats women abroad.
I'm pregnant in Hong Kong, and so what I'm doing right now is I'm on the birth certificate so the kid can be American. So now the kid, well, that's a nice thing to do, like giving a kid.
Doing the same, actually.
You will have a lot of kids.
Don't you rather have an American kid so that they can be rich?
Yes.
You have it's the best passport, best citizenship. You get to travel, and you never have to get a visa.
So
That was a
inappropriate.
video of Kyle
That's that video I was telling you guys about earlier.
Gordy telling women abroad that if they use him as a donor, their children have the option of applying for an American passport.
And that's just manipulation.
And when he's posting stuff like that, a court could really look at it as, ooh, he really thinks he's the father. And it gets more dicey than that. I have one of his recipient parents who sent me text exchanges
That's
between
the problem right here, where he keeps calling himself father. When he was on the Dr. Phil show, Dr. Phil had to keep calling him out because he kept calling himself the dad. And Dr. Phil was like, you are not the dad, you are the donor. You need to separate yourself from that.
recipient parents who sent me text exchanges between her and Kyle. Because as a recipient parent, she wanted to get some of his genetic test results.
Oh, that's so.
So let's go through them. Pause to read. So at this point, this recipient parent has been begging Kyle for genetic test results, and he's not giving it to her. And she's claiming that he has stated he has done genetic testing and claiming that this is false representation. It keeps going. And he says something very interesting here. Basically telling this recipient,
that's what the moms do, but if you're the one spreading your swimmers to over 80 different women, I think that is your responsibility to do genetic testing. It's like he doesn't care if they have some kind of mutation or what's wrong with them, because he doesn't have to deal with them beyond hooking up with these women.
recipient parent, well, if you don't have any,
And that's why he probably don't want them to be in a group text until they're at least 3 years old.
anything, it doesn't matter what I have. That's not true. There are plenty of genetic illnesses that only require one parent to have to pass on to their child. Oh, it keeps going and going. Again, pause to read. He's saying that all the other moms did this. It keeps going. And in my opinion, understandably, she's getting upset. And he's continuing to push prenatal genetic testing. Oh, God, it keeps going. Pause to read. It just keeps going. I mean, I find this just so hard to read. Love the pregnancy gaslighting. I'm just, what a gentleman. Only 5% of known donors get genetic testing. Yeah, that's not something to be proud of. Almost through. The pregnancy gaslighting really bugs me. Where this takes a very interesting turn is here. His 90-day fiance, Annika, found that recipient parent that I was showing you the exchange with. And they had a very interesting conversation. Follow for part 3.
I cannot find part 3. What is her name? I'm going to try to go back. I was trying to find her part 3, but how she has things. What is this? Laura High Five. Let's see if we can try to find her part 3. The girl who originally posted this on Reddit said she's heard from multiple females, and she shared somewhere with me. She said She said, I'm upset because this isn't just about a TV show. It's literally about the women who see this man and think, oh, I should look into him, or maybe I should do this. And they have no clue that this man is a R word who goes on swim meet sex tours and doesn't disclose his real name or info, records you without consent, and grooms others into making them do natural insemination. See, these women are desperate for kids, and donor clinics cost anywhere from $1 to $3K, usually just for each attempt. And so they think, here's the guy who just wants to travel and help me, and I'll get a child. And it keeps them from thinking about how wrong for the world this is. And it seems like he's doing good to just help his own needs, not other people's needs. He's just covering this for his obvious perversion. I had a lot of women reach out to me, and I've seen way worse, but she did not want to share that information because these women did not say, oh, go, share this. They were just confiding in her after she shared all the information she found. But if there is anybody who reaches out to me, I did see another girl that we might have time to get to in a second that has hooked up with Kyle and said she was going to go the legal route and pursue criminal or civil charges against Kyle for what he did with her. But let's go ahead and talk about the Dr. Phil show. So Kyle did go on Dr. Phil. I can't share the episode because Dr. Phil likes to copyright people for barely showing anything. But in the episode, he's currently 32 on 90 Day Fiance. On the Dr. Phil episode, he was 30 years old. So it's a few years before he filmed 90 Day Fiance. And he said at the time he had 40 children with 38 different women. And he said he had 11 more children on the way. And he calls himself the world's most popular sperm donor and fertility specialist. And in the Vice episode, he was refusing to sit down during his interviews because he claims that will affect his sperm count. And apparently, Kyle said he's tried to get over 150 different women pregnant. He's been successful with almost 50 of them so far. So he has about a 1 in 3 success rate, he claims. But I'm curious how many of those women carried full term and how many of those women miscarried, because I'm sure he's not including the numbers of women who miscarried in that number. And he says he has babies in 11 different states and 1 even in Mexico. And like I said, he claims this is a professional experience. One girl was calling him out in the comments that he was wanting BJs from her. And he told Dr. Phil that typically it's a professional experience, but some women want more. And they want the whole boyfriend experience from him. And then he claimed he didn't make money off of it. But Dr. Phil called him out for his crowdfunding campaign that raised over $50,000. And on the Dr. Phil show, there's this couple there. And this girl in the couple, when she was 18, she was in a relationship with a girl. They thought they were going to be together forever. They wanted to have a baby. So they ended up finding Kyle online. And Kyle ends up donating his sperm to this girl. I'm not sure if they ended up doing it naturally or artificially, but she ended up getting pregnant. I'm sure he probably did it artificially since she was in a lesbian relationship at the time. And so he donates his sperm. She gets pregnant. Her and that girl didn't work out, so she ends up finding a new guy after she broke up with that girl, and that guy has helped raise that little girl as his child, and she knows him as her father because she's only 3 years old. And the mother said she plans to tell her daughter when she's older, like, hey, you were created with a sperm donor. This is actually more like your stepdad, even though you know him as your father. But she said she wanted to wait until the child was older. Well, the child was there at the set at the Dr. Phil show, and Kyle was adamant that he wanted to meet this 3-year-old child because he wanted to meet what he helped create. And Dr. Phil told him this was a terrible idea, and he even had 2 psychologists who who are licensed come on stage and tell Kyle that this was a terrible idea. A 3-year-old does not have the mental or emotional capacity to deal with this kind of information and process it, and it could make her really confused when it comes to her parents or who she knows as her father, because she's going to wonder, oh, why was mommy hooking up with this guy she wasn't in love with? And she's still trying to understand the world, and it's just going to make things more confusing and complicated to throw this on her at her young age of 3 years old. Regardless of all the professional advice of people advising against it, Kyle still wanted to move full steam ahead, and the parents said they were willing to have this child meet Kyle, and they brought the child on the stage, and this child was not feeling it. The child would not even look Kyle in the eyes. She was shy. She even started to get teary-eyed, and she was covering herself with this little puppy purse she had, and she just wanted to hide and barricade herself. She was not happy at all, and even the psychologist and Dr. Phil pretty much told Kyle, like, look, I told you so. We told you that this was not going to be a good idea to throw this on a 3-year-old, but Kyle just wanted to do it again for his own self-interest. He could not think about what this girl or this little girl would go through doing that. All he was thinking about was what he wanted at the end of the day. So that psychiatrist advised Kyle that was a terrible idea. After the girl came out and it went terrible, the same psychiatrist came on the stage and was like, Kyle, I told you so. Why did you think that was a good idea and think that this 3-year-old could handle all that? And the psychiatrist pretty much called Kyle out. He said, do you really think that what you did was in the best interest of that little girl by bringing her on this stage? And Kyle said, well, it wasn't my idea. It was the parents' idea, and I was willing to go along with it. But he was still adamant when everybody told him it was a bad idea. And you know what the psychiatrist responded? And when Kyle said it wasn't his fault, because it wasn't his idea, the psychiatrist responded, and he said, you know what? That's you being in denial about your narcissism, because every time you have a child, whether you realize it or not, you are stroking your own ego. And Kyle started smiling because I think he knew that that psychiatrist had just read him and knew exactly what was going on, and Kyle knew that that was true. The problem with unregulated sperm donating is there's no limit. Sperm clinics only allow a man to donate to up to 10 women in a metropolitan area, or sometimes 10 women in the United States, and that way the kids don't grow up and have a high potential of inbreeding, or even if it may not happen with the immediate children, there could be higher chances with their grandchildren having kids and hooking up with one of their half brothers or a sister and not having any idea that they're related to them. And that's another issue with these women not being able to know about each other. And sperm banks regulate that, so it decreases the chances of that happening. But Kyle does not do that. He has 40 kids at the time of the Vice documentary and 11 on the way. And at the time of filming 90 Day Fiance, he has over 80 kids. And 35 of them alone are in the state of California. And Kyle responded saying, well, I keep all the women in a group chat. But we saw that one girl say, oh no, Kyle said I couldn't be in the group chat until the child was 3. And even if they're in a group chat, I'm sure he's not going to regulate and make sure that these kids in the future, 20, 30 years down the road, aren't hooking up with their half brothers or half sisters, or even if it's not them, like I said, their grandchildren. Like, here's an example of the Whittaker family that was filmed by Softway Underbelly. They are an inbred family, and what happened is these twin brothers ended up getting married. They had kids. Their kids had grandkids. And some of the grandkids, I believe, ended up hooking up, inbreeding. And now a lot of the kids, they hooked up and they ended up inbreeding. And like the Whittakers, for example, their parents had 16 kids, and at least a third of those kids only made it to being an infant or a toddler before they passed away. And I believe a lot of it was due to inbreeding. And many of them have birth defects and developmental and mental issues because of their grandparents inbreeding. Like, for example, we see in this Whittaker family, this is Lorraine. She can barely speak, and she really has no idea she knows what's going on, but she can't really speak. She has to be taken care of. And then there's Ray here, and he can only communicate through barking. And this is the effects of inbreeding. And this is just what we could see the grandchildren going through with Kyle being so reckless with spreading his sperm.
So what are your names?
And it's just so sad. Like, they knew that they had an issue with the inbreeding, and they still chose to have 16 kids. But that's pretty much all. Let me look at the last woman who came forward, who actually got pregnant with this man.
Me joining that group. I was still feeling my way through it. I hadn't posted yet, maybe had made one response to group.
And she said she got in this Facebook group, and she hadn't even really posted yet. She responded to one person about where her location was, and Kyle immediately slid into her DMs.
In California. And I had Kyle Gordy reach out to me within a couple days of me joining that group. Still feeling my way through it. I hadn't posted yet, maybe had made one response to somebody else's post, like my location or something like that. But it was still kind of early for me to get to that point. He reached out to me, claimed that he was the admin of this group, and sent me some pictures of his donor conceived children. I thought, okay, well, let's see what's here. I was definitely open to finding my match, if that was what was meant to be. I opened up to him, told him, my story, essentially the same thing I just shared. A little background about the encounters I had with Kyle. Our first encounter was a bit jarring to my nervous system. It was sexual in nature. This was before conception, and looking back, I did feel that it was, I had said in that, after that experience, it was very much about him, right? And looking back, it was assault, although very gray, a gray area, because, there were aspects that were consensual, and,
on in these. And then they talk about the genetic mutation he allegedly had.
Hiding, I had a lot more people come forward, and somebody did bring to light Kyle's genetic condition. And I set out to find all the evidence and all the proof for this, which I have obtained. I set out to find all the evidence and all the proof for this, which, crazy things have happened. I guess we'll cross that in another chat with Jen. And pushed me into hiding. While I was in hiding, I had a lot more people come forward, and somebody did bring to light Kyle's genetic condition. And I set out to find all the evidence and all the proof for this, which I have obtained, and that has been sent to Jen, who is using it to pursue legal what would you say, legal areas?
Legal action, yep.
Legal action, that's the word. I've had quite a day today. So a lot of people have been asking, what is Kyle's genetic condition? Kyle's genetic is called familial dysautonomia, right? Is that how you spell it?
I think dysautonomia.
Yeah, also known as FD. It is a nervous system genetic condition, and it affects Ashkenazi Jews, which Kyle is very open to admitting that he is an Ashkenazi Jew. So yes, that is the condition that he has. He does know about it, and it is edited out of the reports that he sends to all of his recipients.
But that
So
is true.
why-
That is so messed up because here he is conceiving all these children knowing he has a genetic condition.
my goal is to create awareness and protect everyone so that they are fully aware of.
And you know the crazy part is he was saying that he recommends doing natural thing to hook up with him so they don't have diseases or mutations. And he says if you go to a clinic and get a disease or something like that, then that is completely on you. But that can happen with any pregnancy, whether you go to a clinic or not. But even then, according to these people, he has the mutation. But that is it for the expose on Kyle Gordy. I looked at a lot of information. We didn't have time to cover all this in this video, but I'm sure there'll be a lot more that comes to light. But that is it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think about all this. Have you heard of Kyle Gordy before this? What do you think about all this? Let me know in the comments below. If you guys want to see a part 2, let me know because there's a lot more we haven't even covered in this video. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.